So now let's cover the color editing options that we have in Lightroom Classic and in Lightroom. So we'll get started here with Lightroom Classic and look through this and remind ourselves of what's here. So we have, when you come to the very top here, we have this thing of a profile, so we can change the Adobe profile. So this is how the colors that your camera captures are interpreted by Adobe, and so there's quite a few different ways to manage this. I have an in-depth video on how this works on my advanced Lightroom Classic tutorial. But we can pick different profiles. Once we've picked a profile, if we go a little bit further down here, we can change things like the temperature and the tint of the photo. So I guess one thing to note is these images that we're looking at here were taken with an Astro modified camera, which means that it had one of the filters taken off of the sensor. So some of the colors actually might start out looking a little bit unnatural, but with a little bit of editing here, you can usually make them look pretty good. You can see it went from the snow looking like really yellow and warm to being more naturally white now. That's definitely an improvement if you want it to look more natural. I mean, obviously the yellow warm does look like warm, comforting, and cozy, but that's not usually what you think of on a cold winter night. So maybe the whiter, bluish, more bluish edit is a better edit for this photo. If we keep going through the settings here, we eventually come down to the vibrance and the saturation. So I already have videos on what these things do. So saturation is the bold cover colors. It brings them out and makes them more brighter and saturated. And the vibrance is the more of the secondary colors, and it does a similar effect on them. So that's just menu bar here. You can scroll it to become more or less saturated depending on what you want in your photo. And then the next way to edit color here in Lightroom Classic is through the tone curve. And you have your RGB curve here, and so you can do all sorts of different things here if you want to, like this. And you can create wildly different effects just by changing this. So something like this could work. So that's another way you can edit colors. If we keep coming down here, we get to the color mixer. So here we have the ability to change different colors. If we want everything to look more red, the reddish to be more red. If you look in the background, you can see that there's a lot of the shadows look reddish. That's effect of the Astro modified camera. Maybe we don't like that. We want less red in the photo, so we can just take the hue down, or we could just desaturate it here like that, and you can see that the reds are a lot less prominent in the background when we do that. And so this allows us to also modify the luminance of the color, so we can make all the red parts of the image brighter or darker depending on our desired effect. And that's one way to view things. So there's another option here for point color. So point color basically says you take this eyedropper tool, and let's say I don't really love these purple hues here, right? I can select them specifically, and I can say I just don't want to have those be saturated purple. I'd much rather have them be white. And now look, my shadows over there look a lot more natural white rather than having a very purple tint to them, right? Which seems to be a positive effect. So that's another way to think about the color. Also, if you don't want to see all the hue, luminance, saturation all at once, you can pick one at a time here. That's another option that you have for the color. And then we come down to color grading. So with color grading, you have these circles here, right? And it's kind of like a color wheel with the primary colors and the secondary colors opposing each other here, and you can edit your colors based on the midtones, shadows, and the highlights. And if you want the whole photo to look more blue, you can just drag it this way, and then maybe I think that was too much, so I can reduce the effect of it a little bit. Or maybe I just want to affect the highlights or the shadows. You can also do that. So if I want the highlights to look yellow, so I want the lights to give a yellow effect, I can just bring the highlights out to yellow. Maybe the lights here look really yellow in person, so I want to really bring out that effect. I want to brighten them a little bit. I'm able to directly pick out the highlights, make the more yellow, and then brighten them up. So like this tool is really useful for that. And then if we keep going here, there's two more things. So one is in the detail here, right? So there's the concept of color noise. So you can reduce your color noise either through the AI denoise or through this color noise slider, and then the detail and smoothness here. This just makes your color less grainy. And then again, even if we come further down here, we have this concept of calibration. And this basically will go through every pixel in your image and change the colors of the image. So if I want the whole image to look more purple, I can just drag the purple here. You can see the shadows, midtones, and highlights are all becoming more purple. And this specific editing tool, it affects every pixel in the entire image, which is different from all the other color editing tools, which pick specific ranges of color and edit them instead of the whole thing. So you can see you have the tint, hue, saturation, etc. So yeah, this is like the basic color editing tools in Lightroom Classic. I guess one other thing we can mention is the histogram up here, right? That has that gives you a pretty good concept of where the colors are in your image. You can see we still, even though we took out some of the reds, still have like a whole lot of reds, it seems, here in the highlights, and then there's a bunch of blues down in the shadows here. So maybe that's not the effect I'm going for, so I could go to my shadows and try to reduce the reds with the color grading here. And so we would have to reduce the cyan, as you can see. You'd have to play with it a little bit, but you get the idea. It can change the values here. And if we wanted to do this, but yeah, it keeps it allows you to edit the different things. So now we'll look at the Lightroom and see how it differs. So switching over to Lightroom, we see that a lot of the features are similar, even if they're moved around. So we can start from the top of the menu here. You have the histogram feature, which is like the same as what you see in Lightroom Classic. You can see the different colors in the histogram and where they are in the levels compared to the brightness of the image. You can also come here to the profile color profiles. It's exactly the same feature as you have in Lightroom Classic. You can choose different like landscape, portrait, etc. color profiles for your image. And if you keep going down here, you can see that this section here on light is actually different, right? It no longer has, or at least the first section here, no longer has any color related edits. So the vibrance, saturation, the tint, etc. All these things are moved down to the color section below here. So if we keep coming down here, we have the curve section. So we have the RGB curves here, where you can change your image in whatever way you want to. Let's say you want highlight to be more yellow and the darks to be more blue. Right, you could just do a simple edit like this too. You have to be careful that you don't turn your image purple or green, because you could easily do that by making these changes. So you can see a little bit here, but it hasn't completely messed up the image yet. But yeah, that's one way you can edit your colors with the curve here. If we keep coming down here to this color section, this color section has almost all of the rest of the color features that are available in Lightroom. So if we start with the color temperature, and we can make that the image more yellow or more blue, depending on our preference. And then the same with the tint. You can make it green or purple and adjust it appropriately. The vibrance and saturation is both available here. And then we come to the color mixer, which is basically exactly the same as the color mixer in Lightroom Classic. You have the ability to edit based on specific colors, or you can show all the saturation, luminance, or hue sliders and edit each of those on their own, right? If we keep coming down here, we have point color, right? This is moved around a little bit. It was more integrated with the color mixer in Lightroom Classic, but it's the same feature again here, right? So if you pick any point in the image, you can reduce the saturation there. Let's say, I think this is like too blue, so I can shift it to less saturation. Or if I think it's too bright, I can just straight up darken just that part of the image, right? If I think it's distracting from the rest of the lighting and colors, right, I have the ability just to edit that right here with the point color. And then we come to color grading. So exactly like we have in Lightroom Classic, you can move around and edit the highlights, the shadows, or the midtones. And there's really no difference here between Lightroom Classic and Lightroom. The features are exactly the same. Just everything is grouped together here in this color section. So, yeah. All these features are here, and the last color feature that we have, right, is the detail, the noise feature. So you have reduce your color noise here with the slider, or you can use the AI denoise, which would also reduce your color noise as well. So basically, that's how the color editing works in Lightroom. I guess one major glaring difference would be the fact that the tools for calibration, right, in Lightroom Classic, that we're editing the color of every pixel in the image versus just the filtered color edits, which we just covered, right? Those are actually no longer available. But like this may not be such a big deal, right? Because I personally have never used those specific calibration color edits, and really only learned them to teach them in the course, and I have still not found them to be super useful. So they are literally at the bottom of the menu system in Lightroom Classic, so probably they are one of the least used tools, not only by me, but probably most photographers. So yeah, that's that, and then the menu structure really are the two major differences that we find here. Overall, I think this is an improvement on the structure, like the logical collection of the different color tools. It just, I think, makes sense in Lightroom. And I think it's very easy to switch over from a Classic to Lightroom, and you probably really won't notice too much of a difference after a few days of using it.